2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Inside Movies Galore. I am your host for the remainder of the evening, but tonight we are doing another Meet the Cast moment in our Meet the Cast themed month, where we are going to go into the vast, deep oceanic lake-like Lake Michigan, kind of like right near me. The film that we are going to go on about is directed by, this is a long name, Ryland, Brickson, Tews. And it mysteriously and quite quickly from festivals got a really cool Arrow release, which I am showing right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool looking.
I guess I will go into what IMDb tells us what the film is all about. So, an eccentric ship captain and crew of specialists plot revenge against the most mysterious creature of the deep, the Lake Michigan monster. And this is a film that was filmed in 2018, the same year as The Domestics, which we recently talked about. First impressions, everyone. So I'm going to start with you, Brandon. What were your first impressions of this film, and was this a first-time watch?
Oddly, no. Actually, you yourself introduced me to the Lake Michigan monster, saying, check this out, this film's really good, I think you'll like it. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll check it out. And my impressions then and now are about the same. I really liked the film. It was a lot like a higher budget version of something that X-Strike or Dead Gentleman would have put out. But I did feel like it was a tad long. Though, and my opinion really hasn't changed about it since, but I did really like it. I still enjoy it, and it was still a fun rewatch. I also got the Arrow Blu-ray just because seeing a film like this get an Arrow release or any type of release like this is, oh no, I have to have that in my collection now.
Okay.
Great film.
Moving on to Mo. Was this a first-time watch for you?
This was a first-time watch for me, and absolutely fucking loved it, dude. I live for this kind of shit. I mean, it's weird. It's clearly shot on like a bigger budget than, other low budget movies, but at the same time, it's definitely like has that feeling of just a friend movie that they'd kind of threw together,
A bro, like a bro movie that they decided to.
Yeah, this is like some shit that we would make, It's totally fun, I think, from start to finish. I would agree it does get a little long towards the end, but they fill it up with like batshit crazy stuff, so I can't complain at all about that. I thought it was brilliant, dude. It's like the type of thing they could have easily chopped this up into 20-minute episodes and broadcasted on Adult Swim. It's got that perfect kind of sense of humor that fits that type of shit, I have not laughed out loud as many times in a movie in a while. Like, I swear to God, dude, that captain guy was just killing me for most of the fucking movie. And
I could see you like doing cool. That role, Mo.
The whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, man, this is like one of those times, you see a movie that you wish you were responsible for it. fully this is that for me. So I actually I ordered that Arrow like right before we got in here as well. So literally like moments before we started this. So the order's placed. I should have it on Sunday, and I'm gonna watch it about 1 billion times because I love
it. Nice. Going over to Forrest, was this a first-time watch for you?
Yep, absolutely. And I definitely, it's definitely. I largely agree with what Mo said. It's definitely a very strange, quirky, very silly movie. That's also definitely, you can tell it's very much a labor of love. And I definitely could see this. It's definitely like one part Monty Python, one part Adult Swim. I feel like this could definitely be a midnight favorite in the future. Like playing at art house theaters all over the country.
Oh, I'd love to see a midnight showing of this.
Yeah, it's just so weird. It's so weird and so fun. Definitely, and it's very much like Mo said, like something that a bunch of friends together shot over a weekend. It's very much a labor of love.
Indeed.
And it reminds me of exactly it reminds me of what I love about film and like how like DIY film. But like, it doesn't matter how low budget, it doesn't matter like if you have any money or not. Like you can you can do something totally fantastical and offbeat if you've got the imagination and the
ingenuity.
Ingenuity for it.
I'm just so pleased to hear that other of you guys enjoyed it, because I had also had a lot of edibles at the time that I watched this, and I wasn't sure if that was like affecting my opinion of it. Maybe I loved it more than I should. Nope.
Oh, no, it was a fun movie.
Jake.
Okay, well,
was this the first time watch for you?
This definitely was a first-time watch. This was not necessarily my first encounter with the film, because I remember Brandon and I discussed the Arrow release on our new releases video, and I saw it. I'm like, holy crap, that looks awesome. I don't know what to make of it, but it looks awesome. And I was very intrigued by the opportunity to look into this further. I kind of agree with most of what has been said so far. I would throw in definitely press start is something else that came to mind when I was watching this. So like the Dark Maze stuff. It is bad shit. It also reminded me, again, I know Brandon has seen this, but I wonder if any of y'all ever saw the TV miniseries The Spoils of Babylon. It reminded me a lot of that. And I just absolutely loved it for that. And and it's not high art, although it might be art you could enjoy high. I don't.
You can. I can vouch.
But it definitely, I enjoyed it. I was very intrigued by it, and if anything, I disagree with the. I mean, it's only 80 minutes long. I don't think that's a long movie. Minutes. If anything, I kind of wanted more.
I would agree. I wanted more of him with the other like crew members or whatever. It feels like they drag it out a little bit once he separates from them, but like I said, they fill it with crazy shit, so I wasn't complaining.
Exactly. Yeah, it was good times.
So, I wanted to talk about now what my personal connection with this movie. I guess I would have to say the locations that it films in, because I very much know the Milwaukee Museum, and I know that they used a bit of some of the under the sea part exhibit when they're going into Captain Seagram's lighthouse home. Also, when they go for drinks, they're going into the old city streets of Milwaukee, which is kind of where they go up to that candy shop, and also they use a marine museum and lighthouse area as well that is in Milwaukee as well. Which I haven't been to, but I know it's got historical value here in Milwaukee. So they've used some rather historical places for some of the backdrop of this film.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that beachfront. I know it. I've been there. So,
nice. I've seen it.
I've stood where these monster hunters have stood.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more or less kind of interesting that they use a lot of locations that I have been to. So
when you were there, did you encounter a Randy monster of the deep?
In fact, it impregnated me, and I'm still carrying its children.
I can't think of a better way to pay your respects to Sean Shaughnessy, dude.
Of course. Anyways, so my first encounter with this is I actually did see it at the Milwaukee Twisted Trees Festival, and it's like
nice
second or third year I did go see it. I know Dustin was in the crowd, but I know I didn't know he was in the crowd until afterwards.
That's pretty cool.
So it was kind of like, oh, hey, you're here too.
It seems like it would be a movie that would be a blast to see with a crowd. Like,
yeah, and
right.
See, Milwaukee, the film world in Milwaukee is a little bit different. The college scene is more into watching films than the general public is. So if you go anywhere and see anything, it's to see films in an audience that is a young crowd and they love their local filmmakers. You know, so to me, whenever you're in an audience of someone locally, it's kind of cool because you kind of get a crowd following them. But then afterwards, if it's someone else's film, it's like, fuck them, you know. So.
Well, and I'm gonna also say that being from Richmond, I think that a lot of the areas, they really, especially places that are college based, like we're VCU for
Right.
ours, and a lot of our festivals tend to also be geared to that younger crowd. I mean, the Foreign Film Festival that we had,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, give or take circumstances of current nature, our film festivals that we've had have mostly drawn that younger crowd, but they are amazing film festivals. I mean, the French Film Festival, for instance, is still a really cool festival that we have every year. I don't think we had it this year, but I mean 2020. But
yeah, I know they tried to do the Environmental Film Festival, but it was apparently like a lot of streaming events. I don't think they really did much in person, so I'm not sure where they're going from here.
And it usually revolves around a very old school theater. Like they have an old Wurlitzer organ and all that stuff. So it's just.
The Bird's a local legend.
I feel like this is the kind of movie you'd want to see with that younger college crowd too.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
with a Wurlitzer introduction.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Although on the other hand, when I introduced this to my fiance, she thought it was totally stupid. So
it is, but in the best kind of way, you know.
In the best kind of way, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that in a good way.
I knew that I fucking loved this like 10 minutes into it because I was like, wait a minute, this is.
There's a song
Go
by
ahead.
Pain. There's a song by the band Pain, which is kind of a old school polska punk band. That's a word you don't hear very often. But
Right.
where they there's a song called "Fut Said Julie," where they're about these nerds basically who are trying to make a rocket ship, and the line's like and they're talking about everybody that comes in and it's like, and freaks and geeks of the very best kind, and it's just like, yes, awesome. And I keep thinking about that when I think of this.
Like to me, I was geeking out because of the how much locations they did use in Milwaukee.
Right.
The last time I'd seen anything like from the Milwaukee Museum was in a short film that had the little monster kid in it called Dinosaurs, where they used the Tyrannosaurus Rex eating the Triceratops, and they used some of the surrounding exhibit to show his science experiment. So I've seen bits and pieces of, and that was a Will Vinton short. A film, if anybody knows about Will Vinton. So, to me, when you use the locale that I think that it represents Milwaukee a lot to me, and I think that's very cool to show that in an independent film, and to showcase it in enough to give it some character, so to speak. But
well, dude, yeah, and I mean, like, even outside of that, you know, like, I'd be even more hyped on this if I knew the locations, because they do such fantastical stuff with it, you know. It is one of those movies that draws you into its own weird little reality there for a while, and that's always a good time.
So ultimately, we have group of characters here. We have Captain Seafield, who is not really captain at all, as we find out.
I fucking love when she asks him that, and he's like, "No, I'm not a sea captain." Like, why would you even think that? Basically,
because you said you were.
And Sean Shaughnessy,
yes, who is never ever referred to as Sean or Shaughnessy. It's always Sean Shaughnessy.
Yeah, dude. Certain names you got to say the full thing. You know,
it was played by Eric West. I guess he's the best friend of Ryland's. Who Ryland Tews, the director, plays the captain's the Seafield. And Sean Shaughnessy here is kind of a weapons expert. That's kind of all he is.
And he has a movie. His only other movie credit so far is one that reteams the two of them, and is coming out this year, called Hundreds of Beavers. That sounds like something to see.
I'll have to see that one.
Yes.
I hope that gets an Arrow release as well.
But it's not directed by Tews.
No.
But also we have Ned Pepsi. Who was played by Bula Peters, which when I posted my Arrow copy, she actually said something about it, and said something cool to my post on Instagram. So that was kind of cool. And then Dick Flynn, who was played by Daniel Long and Ashcroft. Who was played by Wayne Tews, which I think is Ryland Tews' father. So
and Wayne Tews and Daniel Long are also in Hundreds of Beavers. So it looks like we got a whole teaming effort there. It sounds cool.
Well, let us not forget, what's her name? Ruth, the real eye candy of the film, making those fish sticks.
Oh, his wife?
Martha?
Oh, Martha, there you go.
Martha, yeah. Yeah, that was like her only thing. It was like, you want some fish sticks?
Oh
So-
man, he dips it in the bourbon.
Supposedly this is supposedly
That doesn't sound like it would be that bad.
See,
Supposedly this is. Go ahead.
I kept thinking that was just his mother, and he was living out of his mother's basement.
Oh man, I loved it so much when he revealed that it was his wife. It was about spit out my drink.
Well, believe it or not, the actress is Lucille Tews, so she is related. I think she is his mother.
Damn, dude, your mom's a piece.
But in any case, supposedly this is set somewhere near Milwaukee. But he gathers them to this group of or crew, so to speak, in a classroom somewhere that supposedly he's not supposed to be in.
What do they call it? Like the world's the world's greatest crew or something.
Oh, the
like
team
that,
of the
team of the
century.
Team of the century, yeah. Team of the
Let us
century.
not also forget Nedge's designation as radar individual.
Sonar.
Sonar individual. Yeah.
So ultimately, he gets them out onto this beach that supposedly his father has perished from this so-called Lake Michigan monster. And the crew is not all believable of him, at least until they come up against this creature. So, but after several failed attempts at trying to get the creature's attention, we ultimately do get a dream sequence where this creature.
Well, you gotta mention the attempts. You got Operation Annihilation, Operation Naughty Naughty Lady.
Naughty Lady, yeah.
I
love the ingenuity of that. And it seems like the sonar system is made up of like old organ keys, you know?
Yeah.
Like old church organ keys.
Right. And then like the plan for the Operation Naughty Lady is basically identical to the other plan, except it has a different name. and
he's naked.
And he's naked, yes, exactly.
Yeah. Turns out it's actually the inappropriate plan. I do like when he describes it. We were at 1 fathom.
Yes. 1 fathom from shore, yes.
Do you even know what a fathom is?
Yeah.
And he just stares at him.
It's like 6 feet. So you were barely off the shore.
What was his explanation? He had a weird acronym for that.
He had a badass cardboard or a woodcut for it, though. I know that much.
Exactly.
Like, he just pulls it out of that podium. I love afterwards too when they're like trying to clarify. And Ned is just like, "What else is in there?" You know, because it was a large cutout that he had stashed back there.
Exactly.
And that's about when someone comes in and says, "What are you doing here? Get out of here!" Because apparently he wasn't even supposed to be using the classroom or anything.
Oh, dude, it's so great how that comes back around later in the graveyard. He catches them fucking digging in the graveyard to bury those weapons.
I do find it funny that he manages to, of course, they seem to be like they're all upset about this, but then as soon as the paychecks come in, they're like, "Oh, yeah, sure, this is good."
Right. Yeah.
Well,
until you find out that.
They're there for the money, at least until they realize that those checks are no longer good.
Right.
They weren't good in the first place.
But ultimately, we end up supposedly meeting his brother, who evidently has somewhat built himself a houseboat.
Ashcroft, yes.
Who sings us a song.
Eventually.
But he's also there to tell us the curse
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that he should go to the catacombs. Because apparently Sean Shaughnessy ends up dying along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So what do y'all think of that?
I mean, he does go in with a sword into the freaking ocean to take on the creature. I think that's a given, really, at the end of it.
Dick is the one that goes in with the sword. Sean has like the guns and all that stuff.
Was that before or after they find the egg and destroy it?
That was after they destroyed the egg. That's why he was killed. But it's because he was the one that pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
Oh man, that whole fucking scene with the egg is just insanely awesome. Where's your eyebrow makeup? That whole shit was killing me. There's very much like the DNA of shit like Tetsuo the Iron Man in this movie, in certain parts where they speed it up or slow it down or like do weird things with the pacing or like the up close shots of the radar machines and stuff. I just recently watched that from the Arrow collection that it comes in, and there's a lot of parallels with this. And that scene with the egg is like something you could imagine in like an a Tetsuo type movie, you know, just drawn out and bizarre for no reason, you know?
Repetitive to no end, to the insane reason of it just being comical.
Yeah, it was wild, dude.
And it was after this egg was destroyed that our Dick Flynn character ends up like seriously being like angrified at Seafield for doing that.
Oh yeah, you murdered my unborn child, and he's crawling on the ground in that fucking graveyard.
I would have been a great father.
Actually, it was the graveyard shot that made me feel like this was more than just a standard low budget film. There were a lot of things. I love the graveyard shot where it just goes all the way down into the grave. And I don't know what it is. It was a really cool shot. And there were a lot of cool shots. We'll talk more about this at production value, but I don't know. When I looked at that was when I looked at it and said, okay, this is more than just a average, say, Dead Gentleman or X-Strike Studios pick. There's something more to it than that.
Okay. So ultimately we get the anger. We get the crew leaving him, and pretty much that's that with the crew. But he ends up running into his brother, and his brother kind of sings a song, kind of about Seafield, and eventually, I guess he's told about this curse of this that if he doesn't that he should go to the catacombs, which is apparently where his father went to his death in.
He gets a good backstory on them too, like their mom's
he goes
dead,
to build the.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it's where he goes to build the Ghost Army, but go ahead.
Oh, the Ghost Army is fucking insanely epic. I love that scene.
That was weird.
But I like it when he's talking with Ashcroft and they're talking about their childhood with their dad. He would like take them fishing, but he told them, if you throw up on the deck, I'm going to harpoon you in the fucking eye. And so that's why Ashcroft or whatever has like only one eye. And it turns out that he harpooned their mom to death, which becomes an integral part of the plot later on.
Yes, and I love the reasoning for that. We'll get to that eventually, but
yeah, oh my god! But him going down to the underworld is just awesome. I mean, this portion of the movie is where it really goes full on fantastical. Like there'd been elements of that before, but there's some crazy shit in like this whole portion of it that even reminds me of like sort of old Greek mythology movies and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Well, like the ghosts have kind of a Greek chorus sort of look to them, and There's also another traditional element. Like I made the comment on our chat as I was watching this, but while the ghosts are in the in the depths fighting against the monster or what have you, you have the one guy who I guess is the head ghost is sitting there playing checkers with Seafield. Like not even chess. This is something not even that classy. It's checkers. And it was clearly, I think, a reference to the game of chess with death and Seventh Seal.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I'm like, I just love this version of it. It's like
it's great, and that calls back to something later, like earlier too, because there's a couple of parts where old Captain Seafield has to dock some pay. Like the first one is so classic, where they're sitting there just talking about him, and she's like, he's not even a real sea captain, and then he pops up out of nowhere, and he's like. Yeah, that's right, Ned. Does it feel good? I'm docking your pay. And then she's like, where'd you even come from? And he goes, trapdoor. It's my house. Like, you should just expect that he's fucking going around in trapdoors and shit. Then later on, when he whips out that checkers board, the other dude's like, oh, so that's why you brought that, like, to actually play with it? And he's like, of course.
Yeah.
What would be bringing something like this to the beach if you don't intend to play it? And then he's just like, I'm docking your pay. You know,
that's what I love about the captain himself, is that he is truly at home with his own madness.
He is.
In a sense, he's like your own Guillaume. Your own like Steins Gate character.
Kyoen or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, there is a very like clear anime influence on a couple of different scenes within the movie.
Oh yeah,
as well.
I'm sure.
But dude, he kind of has, there's like a good message to that in a way too, because there is that part where he just says straight up, like, it's all lies, pretty much. It's all bullshit. I'm just out here playing make believe with my old ass wife, you know. Like, as long as you're happy with it, who gives a shit?
And I'm just looking for my father. That's all.
Actually, the character we forgot to talk about was his brother.
Yeah, well, we talked a little bit, but yeah, Ashcroft was great.
Ashcroft is just this odd character that you look at and you're like, is that some sort of like uncle or something? No, it's his brother. I was like, what the fuck? And when they talk about how old he was.
Right. But yeah, I did love that little song number he did, and I believe didn't Seafield get a song himself? It says
he did.
In a sense, it's kind of partly a musical, and that just it adds to the absurdity of the whole thing.
It sort of does, but ultimately, I guess he finds out that he has a sibling in this underworld, which he has to come up against, and he finds out that it is definitely a battle to behold. Not only do we have the Battle of the Ghosts, which I thought those ghosts were funny, especially the ones that were trying to not fight and like escape from it, but he just pushed them right back into the fight.
I like the pre-battle part where he's driving out in the boat and there's just that enormous stack of ghosts up on top of each other.
The way they did that was insane, dude. I loved it.
And I did kind of like the fact that Sean Shaughnessy's ghost was kind of hunting him at first, you know.
Yeah, that's our sub boss of the movie for sure, is old Sean Shaughnessy, and he's throwing those knives. He sticks them in the ass with those fucking ass blades that become just, pivotal in the movie later on.
Right.
Oh yeah, and then he's on that Lake Express thing, and then all the TVs are like in static, and he's just looking at him through the eye hole. It's like,
and he's like, "Yep, this is a phantom ship or whatever," and he's still trying to figure out like how to turn it around. I love the whole time he's just walking around. He's still sipping that PBR. Like he's still drinking the ghost beer, even though it's like.
Well, I guess that's how drunk you can get in Milwaukee.
I feel like they were drunk during large portions of this, or at least that main group. Like he was in that perfect like level of fucked
there's
up.
There's probably some drinking games that they came up with to go along with this.
Honestly, in the history of Milwaukee, there is a streak of German descent, and I love how in the drinking scene they have that beer Mädchen saying Prost in the middle of all that.
Yes. Oh, I mean, there's too much reference to booze in the movie for it not to be kind of made by like a group of drinking pals, you know.
I like how they even one of the pivotal parts in this is the closing time of the alcohol stores.
Yes.
In Wisconsin. So,
which is which is interesting. You get to the pivotal confrontation between man and beast, and in the middle of it, they stop to have a discussion about the closing time
with those ass blades stuck in her skull. Dude, that whole scene too, where he finally comes face to face with her, like the way the music went off and stuff. It reminded me of those old movies with like Harryhausen creatures in them and shit.
Yeah, I think that's what they were going for.
Dave,
for sure.
I gotta know. So is he right about the closing time of all the alcohol stores in Wisconsin?
As far as what was the closing time?
They all close at 9:00.
Yes. All the alcohol, all the liquor stores close at 9 for the most part.
No, I mean ABC in Virginia does too.
Oh, they do too.
7 here. 7 p.m. for
wow,
us.
that's weird.
But bars are now. Bars can now be open during pandemic time.
I was saying around 9-10 p.m. here in New York.
Yeah.
See, that'd be a luxury, dude. I'm always missing the fucking liquor stores because 7 is early as shit, you know.
7 is early. That's crazy.
They make a good point that it probably does help the local economy because people are more inclined then to go like, you know, drink at the bars or whatever. But in my experience here, it just means people buy in bulk and still stay home and drink. So.
It doesn't stop the drunkards because they get drunk anyways. I know last week we had one guy, and I don't know whether he was on drugs or whatnot, but he came screaming up the alleyway saying, "Suck my dick!" And I was like,
"Oh, lovely."
Okay. And then I guess the police came in the paddy wagon, and he was screaming all over the place the same fucking shit. So,
and the liquor store is one thing, but you still go to Walmart until midnight and get beer. So I mean,
beer can be gotten almost at any time.
No, until midnight in Virginia, unless they change that. But I don't know about it.
Here it's like 1:37 a.m.
It's
closed. I mean.
But yeah, that's where it gets interesting plot wise, because the reason why the mother was harpooned was because the father couldn't make it in time, and he had to be sober for a rare evening, and he met her sober. It's like, wow, that must have been a raging case of beer goggles he had going on that whole time.
Hey, I mean, sometimes you accidentally bang a sea monster, dude. It can happen.
It was that hot, sweaty sea monkey love. Anyways. But in any case,
that sounds like a movie title there.
Yeah.
But in any case, so what do we think about that battle there? I mean,
dude, it's insane. The entire, sub boss battle with Shaughnessy,
right?
and then the whole confrontation with the creature. The creature looks fucking awesome. I don't know what was going on with her titties, but I liked it. She has like a big centipede body, which calls back to earlier, where he's like, he says something like, monsters aren't small, you know, they're big, they're monstrous. And then the other guy's like, except for centipedes. And he's like, that's true, honestly.
Right. Right.
They are small,
Except
but monstrous, you know. Yeah.
Well, they can be. There is some areas around the world have some pretty monstrous big
ones.
Centipedes.
Yeah, they're horrifying.
Shoot, there's some nasty ones here in the United States.
There is one in Virginia that gets to about 5 inches long, and it's a little bit unsettling. But yeah, compared to around the world, I mean, I understand some of them are like 1.5 feet, 2 feet.
So I guess
there's one in the Midwest that Coyote Peterson got bitten by on purpose, and he says it was the most terrible bite he's ever had in his life.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
Watch that on his channel.
Yeah, right.
So I guess this monster is kind of like in between like a squid and a centipede. So that's what it's sounding like.
It sounds. I was thinking like, you know, centipede is a good. You guys are right. There's definitely a centipede vibe there. I was thinking it was kind of a riff on the Lamia myth, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of the, you know, like the body of a woman, but the tail of like a serpent or some such thing. Which I need to watch Monster Musume.
I can see what his dad was getting into there now that I think a little bit more about it. I took it really too as like a huge nod to Eraserhead, because the way that the creature's face is, like, she's got those puffy cheeks, and in Eraserhead there's that lady that's like singing that fucking terrifying song, and she just inexplicably has like these really big puffy cheeks. So that was pretty cool. I mean, and just, I don't know, everything about the whole underwater sequence was dope.
It might be a nod to Eraserhead, because I get the feeling that these people, they probably, because David Lynch is pretty batshit, and they probably thought that would be kind of fun to do a more drinking game friendly riff on his kind of movies.
In the trailer, they talk about like somebody, I forget who is quoted as describing it as if like the SpongeBob creator took all the drugs and just made like a Halloween episode. I think it's more accurate to say that it's like as if he took all the drugs and did his version of like an Eraserhead type thing, you know. Because Eraserhead and Tetsuo the Iron Man are very prevalent in the movie. Like,
I could see that. I could see a little bit of SpongeBob on acid here, definitely, and a little bit of Eraserhead. And like I said, I definitely, when I was watching, I was definitely thinking, I was thinking Dark Maze. There's a part where the captain, where he's kind of sitting about moaning about his fate. I think it was when he was on the ghost ship. He reminded me a lot of Count Vile from Press Start. It really reminded me of Count Vile. And he's every bit as delusional, which is part of the reason why. And there was a little bit of Thanksgiving to this too, I thought. Like, just a little bit. But like I said, tons of the camera tricks and the different intentionally bad effects and intentional overacting reminded me so much of Spoils of Babylon. There was some really fun stuff there.
There's also like just a very slight seasoning of Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
Oh yeah, I could see that. A little bit of a Wes Anderson vibe, not as picture card perfect as his films tend to be, but sort of a little bit of that vibe to it. Yeah. And I think someone mentioned Monty Python. Like the whole, if nothing else, the part where the ghosts all stood on top of each other and they're like a mild high. That's like a direct reference to the society of putting things on top of other things.
Hell yeah.
But anyway.
Oh.
And you were talking about the crazy boobs of the monster. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Killer Rat. If you
I've not seen that, but
actually, this is a movie where if Lloyd Kaufman showed up, it would have been perfectly it would have made perfect sense.
They should have had him out like when they had the drinking scene. He should have been like a drunk old sailor guy singing like a sea shanty song on a street corner or something. That would have been cool.
If they make a sequel, he could play the father.
Well, dude, and see, that's one thing I wanted to mention at some point during this, and this is as good a time as any. Is
Right.
I think the movie, in some ways, it's a good and a bad thing. It's kind of betrayed by the title, because when you hear that and you just see it, and you're like, okay, it's like an Arrow movie with like some pretty metal looking artwork and this Lake Michigan monster title, you assume it's going to be just like, some old creature feature that they threw out there for people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They should have, I don't know, I would have probably titled it like Captain Seafield versus the Sea Hag or something like that, just to make it a little more obvious what kind of movie it is. But like I said, that also works in a good way, because it's going to help it keep that sort of underground cult thing. Because people are either going to know what it is going into it and just watch it, or they're going to look at it and maybe watch it if they're into those old creature features. But I would think an equal amount of people will just skip over it, because it's like, do I really need like another generic creature feature in my life? And the gem they are passing over. So I wonder if that's like intentional on some level.
You just reminded me of a great quote from the late great Fred Willard, where he talked about how it was on A Mighty Wind, where he talks about this show that only lasted a year, and he's like, but that's a good thing, because that's how you establish a cult.
Yes.
Right. Like, I mean, it almost feels like it's titled to be sort of overlooked.
Right. But it's hard to overlook that cover. That is an incredible cover.
True.
For sure. But I like the fact that Lake Michigan gets its own monster. For some reason, it makes me laugh because I live right near it, and so to me, I can see this happening for some reason.
So Dave, what's the Lake Michigan monster like? Surely you've been at least 1 fathom from the shore.
What's a fathom again?
Well, according to Seafield, it's it's up to your own interpretation.
Right, exactly.
The last time I heard the word fathom was in the Little Mermaid, when Ursula was singing about from fathoms below.
It's
interestingly enough, I've been out on Lake Michigan in a boat before, and it's vast. It's a large lake, man.
I mean,
it is still on my bucket list. I've been on the southern shore of Lake Erie, and I've seen Lake Ontario, and that's as close as I've gotten.
I think I was there with you with the Lake Erie, if I recall correctly, over in Cleveland.
And I did find a lake monster there, several dozen of them, those little fucking zebra mussels. I found a whole bunch of those.
That's one I wish I had seen more. The other 2 Great Lakes are on my bucket list, and definitely, and the Mississippi River, which I still blame you for telling me I had no time to see it.
No. I think what I told you was that you weren't missing anything if you wanted to see the part in Memphis, because the part in Memphis is
from what I remember.
If you want to see the Mississippi, you want to go down to Hannibal, Missouri, and you want to take a steamboat, boat that Samuel L. Clemens, Mark Twain would have taken down the Mississippi. So
he would know what a fathom was. That's actually his name. His pet nom de plume, Mark Twain, is a nautical term, so he would definitely know what a fathom is. But
Yeah, I've been to Hannibal, Missouri, so I was on a steamboat on the Mississippi.
Nice.
I didn't. My dad was a traveler, so we often traveled to interesting and unique places, and that just happened to be one.
cool.
Of them. In fact, that's
only
exactly where
steamboat-
Mark Twain whitewashed his fence. So, because Tom Sawyer is kind of an autobiographical novel of his childhood.
Somewhat, yeah.
So, but
the only
anyway,
steamboat I've been on was here in the RVA on the James River, and it was near the Philip Morris plant, so you didn't want to go outside.
And see, I've only been on the Disneyland version of, of the ferry that they had, which, by the way, was also inspired with the Mark Twain style. So,
Right.
I do know that you can take a couple of romantic cruises on the Lake Michigan.
We'll have to do that one
lake.
Dave.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we still we still have to
Go looking for that monster.
We still have to do that. Plan a date. Anyways, but my parents on one of their anniversaries took a small dinner cruise and took us on it. I guess I had some duck while I was on board. And it takes a little bit of a cruise around the Lake Michigan downtown area and comes back into port. So
one of the only things I have done in that entire area is a romance spot, according to some. I have been to Niagara Falls, and that was kind of cool. But that's yeah, it was pretty cool.
On there, that would have been cool.
Yeah. But anyway, my only time in Canada.
Is it as big as the falls over in Hot Spring and Falling Spring?
Slightly bigger.
Slightly bigger.
Slightly. Actually, they're fairly impressive, yes. But anywho.
Love it.
Alrighty, so let's take a look at the production value of this film. What did y'all think about it?
Oh, dude. I mean, it's perfect. Obviously, it's not, like the highest budgeted thing in the world, but I don't think that they would have had much use for that in the type of movie that this is, It felt amazing. Like the sets, I don't know how exactly to describe a lot of the vibe that the movie gave them, almost like a fucked up children's show or something.
It had roughly estimated of a $7,000 budget.
Not
Actually,
bad.
though,
Kudos.
for that budget,
Yeah.
they did an amazing job because
Insane.
a lot of the effects that they used looked remarkably good and a much higher grade than I have seen other films of its ilk.
Right.
The sea monster itself, that scene. Was
I think
really
part of the
cool.
reason they went so batshit insane was a way to make it look like they were a low budget film. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like they were almost intentionally overdoing it so you wouldn't notice that it was a low budget film. You know what I mean?
It does work.
Yeah.
You're so caught up in the weird fucking vibe of the whole movie that you start forgetting that maybe they didn't have a lot of money there. And the stuff that they do use it for in the movie, they use it to great effect, Like I still love the way the up close shots of the tech were and how much that reminded me of shit like Tetsuo or those fast sequences or just all that.
Like seeing some of the sequences in like Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, kind of similar to that that vibe to me going on, because I remember them going down in the submarine and you seeing the sonar equipment they're going, the Irwin Allen show. So,
dude, yeah, that Irwin Allen's a good connection too, because there is like that vibe to it at various points, it's got that classic DNA in there without them beating you over the head with like in your face references to different things, which I really appreciate too. Because there is like that whole journey to the center of the earth sort of old Harryhausen. There's a lot of cool things going on when he goes down into the underworld and meets the ghost army, and just all the whole final sequence of the movie just is kind of packed full of like different vibes from other movies they hadn't quite used at that point in the film so far, you know. And the way they put it together where it's all disjointed and the imagery, and it has like there's that feeling it could get scary at any moment. I don't know if you Forrest is sleeping over there. I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but like there's this bubbling like insanity always right below the surface of the whole movie where it could go dark at any moment, you know, and you wouldn't be surprised. So I thought that was cool. But just in terms of all the whole production and especially the design of that creature was really cool. The effects that they do for like the battle of the ghosts or people getting cut in half or different things like that were super cool. I mean, they managed to do it in like that cheap ass computer graphics way that like looks like butt, but then at the same time they were doing really fun stuff with it. So it was hard not to love it, you know?
And then like some of the effects they did that were clearly bad, like clearly bad. Like when they introduce, like they're doing the introduction. Well, like they're doing the introduction of different characters, and they introduce Sean Shaughnessy, and they're like weapons expert or whatever. And he like pulls out the knives, and then you get like 2 or 3 other sets of arms coming out at the same time with knives.
Yeah, it was great.
It was just, it was like so over the top, and it did not look like a professional, but it just added to the humor of the moment. And there were a few moments like that definitely scattered throughout. And then we were talking about the scene with the egg. I mean, that was some pretty cheesy effects in some degree as well, but it kind of added to the to the humor of the thing.
For sure.
And I think you guys were talking about like how the sonar equipment looked so professional. You know?
Yeah, I mean, and then, you know, like, I don't know what you call the style of effects they were using during like the fight sequences, them moving around underwater and stuff. That was really cool. It almost had like an Adult Swim Aquabats, kind of a weird, strange vibe to it, you know?
Or like when he has to turn around the Phantom ship, you know? And that's that was like straight out of a cartoon. It just kind of lifts up and turns around.
That was fucking awesome. One particular like snippet that I really enjoyed, because like I said, there is several moments too where you could tell that there's like a little bit of an anime influence, or maybe even like a bit of a samurai influence in there too. When he cuts Shaughnessy in half, there's like that flash panel of their silhouettes or whatever, and him slowly separating, and he's like slashed him with that blade, and that almost reminded me of some shit that you would see in like Lone Wolf and Cub or something like that, you know. So I'm very much looking forward to getting my copy so I can just pick it apart.
We did talk about music a little bit.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, the music, oddly enough, so it worked enough for the film. I didn't consider it the strongest piece for the film.
Nah.
It was just
so
good.
the little musical numbers that they did in the film, I was a little disappointed that they kept cutting them off. It would have been nice if they could have finished one of them, but there were a couple nice little shanty-ish tunes that were quite amusing.
Oh, yeah,
Ashcroft had a good voice.
He did. That's where the character really, like, I fell in love with him, was during his he's got the Korg out there on the beach and he's just jamming his song. And then the creature tries to sneak up on him and he like knows that something's up and he spins around with that knife. And he's like pure intuition. Like that part was fucking awesome too.
Oh yeah. He had talked before about how he wouldn't use sonar because, you know, it was, didn't their old man Didn't their old man say something like sonar was for pussies? And that was
sonar
like
was for pussies. And he's like, he never said that. I like how Ashcroft's only supposed to be 30.
Let's go.
Right.
The whiskey ruined his life. He comes up and that guy's like, man, you got good taste in whiskey. And he's like, it ruined me life.
Yes.
Well,
What's that?
Indeed.
I thought Dave was going to say something there.
So let's look at favorite scenes now.
Okay.
Let's go with you, Forrest. What was your favorite scene from this?
God, favorite scene. I don't know. I guess for me, I don't know. For me, I can't think of pin down a particular scene, but definitely the style of the movie is what really. The whole style of the movie just is what stuck out to me. Like this sort of almost like an homage to like early film, like A Trip to the Moon. Just that style, just that whole style is probably what I would say was my favorite aspect of the movie.
I need to watch my Méliès collection.
It really is.
Which sadly doesn't have A Trip to the Moon.
This is one of those movies you could like watch on mute with music over it. You know?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Visually, it is a treat too. Just the way. That
we lost Dave somehow. Huh? Isn't that something?
He'll be back in there.
Yeah.
I guess.
There we go.
He's back.
Yes.
All right,
man.
So let's go with you, Mo. What was your favorite scene? If you had to take one.
Oh gosh, man. I mean, there's so much. I'm super stoked for my Blu-ray to get here so that I can, like I said, just pick it apart and watch it. This is going to be a repeat watch for me. It's kind of instant cult classic shit. It really is, you know.
Yeah.
It's going to be in my rotation. You know, I'm not just saying that because I'm hyped on it right now. It's sort of is kind of like a perfect party movie too. I'll definitely be showing this to friends, anyone that I can get to check it out. It's hard for me to pick down to just like one favorite scene. I think in terms of like favorite sequence, probably that entire final battle with Shaughnessy and him meeting up with the monster and then stabbing her, and they have that whole conversation and everything like that. I love how he tricks her into thinking that they're gonna be, they're gonna become like pals, and then he pulls those ass blades out. Like, just, oh man, I love how they like repeated it like 3 times, him reaching back for the ass blades, and just made it so dynamic. Yeah. Just good stuff. I mean, so I guess that would be favorite sequence and just the comedic timing of the whole movie in general, because I really love that whole Adult Swim vibe. In terms of favorite random like Seafield moments, I love when they're out drinking and they're having like that pub crawl night, and then at the end they're all meeting back up and he's like, the goddamn candy store is closed, bunch of pedophiles. Like, it's such a clever joke. They don't explain it, and at first you're like, what? But then you think about it and you're like, yeah, what, they're only open for kids? Like, why can't they be open late enough for the drunk folks to get some candy?
Why indeed?
I guess I would, if I had to choose a couple of favorite scenes. I love that battle. Don't get me wrong. But I love the chess scene with the ghost. And the whole fact that Nedge is questioning him about whether he's a sea captain or not, and he just all out blatantly like tells her, okay, yeah, I'm not a sea captain, and yeah, this is all fake,
Yeah,
shit
just
like
having
that.
fun
So,
here. You know, it just so happens that there's also fucking sea monster. You know.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a really good message to the whole thing, which is just like, this dude's just living his life. Who cares? You know, that he's not a captain.
That is true.
He just had so many good moments, dude. Another honorable mention I would like to throw out there is when he docks that guy's pay for insinuating that he would ever bring a checkers board to the beach for the purpose of anything other than playing checkers. Like,
Yes.
that pause
Exactly.
where he's like, and then he's just, I'm docking your pay.
Yes. Yeah.
What about you, Brandon?
I enjoyed most of it overall. I would go with just the whole battle with the sea monster. I just thought the effects were really cool. I love the whole like swimming scene. It just it's that right amount of fakeness. It's just fun. That's the best way to say it. It's just fun in the end of it all.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I love how they don't explain how he can just breathe underwater. Like, fuck it.
Oh yeah, just like boom.
Right.
I loved it. Just like, I mean, the last film, you could say that they are working on a lot of that, like suspend your disbelief. This film is like entirely, at the beginning to suspend your disbelief. There's no questioning the film. You know it's going to be batshit. So do whatever you want. You know.
Right. You
What
do
about
what you do.
What about you, Jake? If there was a favorite scene, what would you take?
Whew. It's hard to say. There's so many good moments. It's hard to say. I have to agree. I enjoyed the part of the checkers game because of the feeling that it put in my mind of that classic chess game with death, but a very different version of it. And I agree with Mo. The way you word it, I love that when you think about it that way. Like, obviously, they were playing checkers. I'm going to dock your pay.
Yeah.
I did love but probably most of my favorite scenes, if I really had to say favorites, I think for the most part it was scenes revolving around Ashcroft, and I do love his musical number. I thought that was just great. And the head on the pike thing is not my favorite thing to see, but they played it for laughs and actually did it effectively. But for the most part, he was just hilarious. And then the whole revelation that the father harpooned their mother just because he had to see her sober.
It was like illustrated like a children's book. I love that so much.
I do like how they tie it into the lateness of the alcoholic hour here in Milwaukee. That to me is kind of priceless. It's like, yeah. So what would happen if Milwaukee didn't have that 9 o'clock rule, or Wisconsin itself didn't have that 9 o'clock rule?
Oh well,
I guess
then she might have actually won, because then you'd be like, oh well, I can't catch her in it. I guess that's how it went.
Yep.
Dude, we got to give an honorable mention as well to that scene where at the end where Seafield gets fucking harpooned in the eye, and then he pulls it out and his eye's just dangling there.
Oh.
And then as Shaughnessy is rising up or whatever, after
I had blocked that from my mind.
Dude, I love it.
Thanks,
like,
Mo.
Shaughnessy is going, he's passing on after having harpooned him in the face. And he's looking up at him, and he's also holding like the other eye so it can look up as well.
I was trying to remember what docked this star from this film. Thanks, Mo.
That was genius, man.
Who's to say that it might not have been a Herschel Gordon Lewis eye?
It reminded me of some shit like that, actually.
Oh, good times.
Dude, this really is kind of it's like a little masterpiece of cult cinema there, you know? It really is. You know you're watching something special by the time you hit the end of this. Really, like, 20 minutes into it, but when it doesn't stop, because I thought, of course, at some point they're going to hit like the end of their bag of jokes here or something, and the movie's just going to kind of become a little stale. Never happened. It's just, it was, the vibe of it was true. It wasn't something they were manufacturing,
Right.
Oh, yeah. Alrighty. Well, unless anyone else has anything else to add, why don't we do our outros and see exactly who we are by the end of this?
Okay.
Mo, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm Mo. I do videos for my channel, Drunken Master Studios. Been quiet the last week or two because I just, need a little break. Put in a lot of work on my Full Moon series, but I'm about to get cracking at that again here in the next couple of days. Got some stuff filmed and edited, so that'll be coming out. And I got a bunch of pickup videos that are going to be coming out. Mail calls from several of the people in this group and a couple from outside of it. So look forward to that stuff as well. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks coming up here.
Nice. Going over to you, Forrest. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, Forrest Bennett. I'm an independent film producer based in New York. Also, you can catch me on the YouTube channel Evil Greg every week where we do live table reads, dramatic table reads of unproduced movie scripts. Right now, we're making our way through George Miller's Justice League Mortal, where you can see me as Batman.
Hell yeah!
I have my own Batman script.
I don't know why right now that made me think of the Community episode where that dude is Batman. He's just doing the Batman voice the whole fucking episode.
That's like the unaired episode of Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I should disclose I pulled double duty as Batman and the Flash.
Space Ghost, that would have been a cool interview, as like Space Ghost with the Captain Seafield from the show. That would be great.
That would be awesome.
That would be a great interview, yes.
Okay. Why don't we see who you are, Brandon? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, of course, I'm Brandon. I'm the Septum Sen of Septum Sen versus the World. We are a channel that loves physical media, and we work on that. We're kind of in between our pandemic recovery, as we have been talking about the options of even having some more live get-togethers. Though we did get together for the Oscars briefly there. Also, on top of our new releases and pickups, I know I'm going to be. We had a Spandex Heroes game, of course, last night, which you can watch us as we fool around and had part one of a two-part murder mystery. And it was very interesting leading up to the murder. So maybe you can guess who the murderer is before they do in part two, which will be next month. Also, I will be including an additional part of the video game diaries series that I have, which will be coming in Thursday. Of course, I also work with Inside Movies Galore in order to help the schedule here. And our Dave's section of this has been completed, but we are not done with Meet the Cast. Dave is not the only member of the cast,
Nope.
so to speak. So I'm up.
He's not even a real sea captain.
No.
That would be me.
So my two films are up next, and we'll be talking about, of course, a fellow YouTuber who has been on our channel before, Wet Movie One, and his first attempt at a full-length film, Out and About the Movie. And of course, our main film being a fairly rare film, a post-apocalyptic film called Rising Storm. Some fun stuff to behold next week.
Okay, awesome. What about you, Jake? Who are you, and what do you do?
I'm Jacob. I always frequently tease my friends with saying I'm going to make nature videos that I don't actually do.
Nah.
Hey, I gave him the perfect idea for one when I showed him that video of putting his head in a box of spiders. He wouldn't do it.
Yeah, come on, man.
No, see, Jacob has been secretly filming Furry Vengeance 2.
Ha 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 ha! You're on to me, Dave.
I did give him that film.
I am Kotobuki Jake. I be a sea captain here in.
He's not even a real sea captain.
It's honorary. He got it in the mail. That's all.
I know. No, I'm here. Movie fan, collector, what have you, here in Central Virginia. I am trying to start a new business, and it is going in fits and starts. I eventually do plan to put more videos on my channel, but we'll get there eventually. And meanwhile, I join these fine folks for their crazy sessions, and we had some fun tonight, I think. Some short but crazy videos. So thanks, Dave. You did well.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, man. I mean, this legitimately, I think, going to be
Justin's
a favorite
joining us at the very end.
Hey, buddy.
We're at the end?
Hey.
Yeah. We're at the end.
Where's my picture and everything?
I don't know.
You got to be a real sea captain to get a picture.
Well, I guess
Well,
at
damn.
the end here, if you wanted to tell your, we have time.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah, we're
Well, I first saw this movie at the Twisted Dreams Film Festival here in Milwaukee, and I loved it. So this was the movie I was looking forward to the most. It was completely different from what I was expecting. Like, I was expecting a more straightforward, like, monster movie,
Right,
not kind of like a send up of monster movies. With sort of that old timey kind of spin feel to it that they put on it. Like, this feels it's kind of hard to describe. Did anybody else get the feeling that they sort of took from some like 1910s, like 1920s, like filmmaking techniques from the for this?
Actually,
Like,
in fact, they gave a thanks to Guy Madden, who did a variation of Dracula with ballet and shit. I could see that kind of aspect to the filmmaking here, and I could definitely tell that they could that they did kind of take from that silent film era, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Very
there's
awesome.
like that type of shit. There's a little bit of that vibe to it at certain points, like those movies that you see in those little nickel theaters at like an old timey theme park or something, you know, where it's like some sketch and there's text overlaid on it, and yeah, that's silent film to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did have the
Yeah.
title cards here and there throughout, which was kind of, yeah.
Yeah, but
But-
at Twisted Dreams, I got to meet the cast and
Nice.
all kinds of stuff. So it was really great. I really enjoy this movie. Like, I can watch this movie over and over again, and it doesn't get boring. Which is weird because it's such a bizarre movie too. Especially the beginning.
I guess for you, I guess I'm going to ask, what was your favorite character?
Kind of difficult to decide. I think probably Seafield, just because he's. I mean, the movie's about Seafield, so I mean, you do spend the most time with Seafield, but he's just so crazy, like nuts, like and just like all the little jokes, like they're perfect.
Oh man,
Thank you,
I
Martha.
totally forgot about a good Martha moment when he comes in after like they turn him down for rejoining the group and he's all upset. And he's climbing into that little cubby hole thing to go down. I thought he was just gonna like chill out in there and like pout, but I guess it was the elevator to like that underworld that he went to, the catacombs. But there's when he walks in, she's like, "Who's up for fish sticks?" And he's like, "Not now, Martha."
Right.
No,
and if you all get the Arrow Blu-ray, you should just sit there and watch the whole shanty that they sing about him.
Oh man, I get it stuck in my head a lot. I really wish it was on YouTube so I could just play it. Like I wish I had a way to download it because it's a fairly long song in its full form.
Yeah.
When my Arrow release gets here on Sunday, I will upload it.
Nice.
So, if you had a favorite scene that you could take from the film, what would you take from it?
I think I like when the Ghost Army is trying to fight the sea monster.
Yes.
Because it's so. Again, this movie is just so nuts. Like.
Well, yeah. You definitely get some of those ghosts.
You have to see it to believe it.
Some of those ghosts didn't even want to fight, and he just like threw them back in there. It was just so bad.
And there are clearly explosions happening somehow. Like,
yeah,
I know
some of
I know some of us mentioned the checkboard scene where he's playing checkers with the ghost and.
Dude, that whole like ghost battle with the creature there, that's the moment, like, because they'd done a little, I don't know what you call it, that weird clip art style special effects that they do where they're like underwater, any of the action sequences pretty much. You knew they were using it, and I thought that it might be like a momentary thing, but then when you saw that ghost battle, you're like, oh shit, they're going in on this stuff. Like, this is about to get awesome.
The fact that they had that type of battle and those effects with that low a budget is a spectacular thing to behold.
It truly is. I mean,
like they were done on green screens, just like at somebody's house. Like this whole thing was made here in Milwaukee.
Well, some of it was in Michigan, but for the most part, yeah. I mentioned earlier.
Go ahead.
I mentioned earlier that when Seagram was going into his lighthouse, when he was going into his lighthouse thing, that was part of the underwater sea part in the museum, and then of course you've got in the Milwaukee Museum, and then of course you've got the old streets of Milwaukee where they're drinking, and then of course that lighthouse that is on Lighthouse Island or whatnot. That's actually a marine museum here in Milwaukee. So
dude, I like this movie enough that if I come visit, when I come visit, we definitely got to visit some locations from it. Like it would be,
Heck yeah,
right.
Having him live in the museum.
Oh, I love that part too. That's
So
another
good.
great part we skimmed over, where she's like, this revelation is being revealed that he's really not a sea captain. This isn't even his house. He's just like this museum that he takes care of. And I love when he says, like, I'm surprised because it was so blatantly obvious that this is a museum, and it shows that little like cut together montage of the different points where they're clearly walking by museum exhibits and shit.
And then she's like, oh.
Yeah, he's upfront about all the shit, really. They're just, they go along with it a little too much, I guess, which why wouldn't you? I'd join this guy's crew immediately.
Well, the humor in this is something that you don't usually see as well done effects wise, so I'm kind of glad to see that.
But on that green screen shit, like there's that, because it is very apparent that stuff's all green screened, obviously. But there's that part where Shaughnessy is like pursuing him and he's doing that dolphin swim, and I just could not stop fucking laughing because it's funny enough as it is, but then thinking about the fact that this was really shot with this dude doing this, but like in front of a green screen somewhere with other people standing off camera. Oh my god, it's just priceless, man.
Oh yes.
Well,
wow.
I know that your time on here was somewhat brief, Dustin, but why don't you tell us a little bit Is there anything else that you wanted to add before we ask you who you are? And
Captain Seafield. Captain Seafield. Captain Seafield plays the monster too, which I did not know until I saw the extras on the Blu-ray.
I could tell it was a man, but I couldn't
amazing.
tell who it was. You know,
you can't tell it's him at all. So there's a lot to love with this movie. Like, I'm sure you guys have gone through all of it like in detail, but I just really want to emphasize like how good this movie is, especially with like how it was made. Like in the commentary, they talk about how they made this movie while the guy was delivering pizzas.
I wanted to have time to sit through the commentary, and I plan on sitting through the drunk commentary actually in the near future, because that sounds like it would be fun.
Oh, there's drunk commentary?
Yes, there is commentary.
Oh my
on
god,
it.
this is better. My god.
The one who plays Ned, she
set.
tells jokes during the commentary. She's great.
Dude, I have not been this hyped on a new movie discovery in a while. Like, I'm envious that you guys got to see it at like an actual festival in a crowd with people, because that's another thing I mentioned briefly earlier, but it does feel like kind of the perfect movie to watch with a crowd. You know, it's just so fun, and there's so many like, laugh out loud worthy moments. There's so much awesome action and just technical wizardry. There's just everything about it is pretty fucking charming.
I think I remember now. My favorite joke when I saw it at the festival was, "Everybody change clothes." Okay, now.
Oh, yeah. Where they all just randomly dressed as the other. Yeah.
I love her back there, like playing around with that AK-47 or whatever.
She suddenly had all the face paint on for whatever reason.
Dude, Ned just such a beautiful fucking name too, because it was it was created because it just sounded so funny with that dude who played Seafield saying it. Nedge. Like every time he said it, I chuckled because it's just such a funny name. Nedge.
What'd she say her full name was? Something like Nedgecraft or something?
Nedgecraft,
yeah.
Like
Junior.
Yeah, Junior. Yes.
It's Polish.
Oh yeah,
but of course,
there's so much to love about this film, and I was saying earlier that they really did an extensive amount of representing Milwaukee in this film. I think. Dustin, didn't you get that feel like they were trying
definitely.
to like honor like some of the locations here in Milwaukee? Like,
they really did.
I could see this having like a historical value.
For sure. For sure, man. Like no jokes about that. That's I can see that.
Not like your other choice tonight, where they're like, Wisconsin, Louisiana.
Same thing.
Seems about the same.
Oddly
just a few less teeth per capita.
Oddly enough, my personal connections with both films were the locations themselves. So those were my personal connections to.
One was the actual location, and one was to be the location.
Yeah, but still.
Right.
It was kind of funny that both of them were like locales,
Right.
But
I feel like this movie begging for some sequels too. Like I could see a couple more with just this Captain Seafield going on different adventures.
I could see that too, kind of like a Lost in Space and the voyage to the bottom of the sea kind of.
Yeah, like some 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea shit or something.
Actually, he did like a web series a while ago, and it's kind of like that. It's on the Arrow Blu-ray, like in full. I can't remember what it's called. It's very weird. It feels like they were trying. It feels like they were trying to get on Adult Swim.
Dude, that's what I said that at the beginning of this. Like, if they couldn't have sold this, they could have easily have chopped it into like 20-minute episodes and just put it on Adult Swim, and it would have fit right in. Because it's definitely got that vibe. There's a little bit of that, and they used to do shit like that. They used to put like Mighty Boosh on there in different things. So I could have easily seen this being an Adult Swim thing had it not turned into the absolutely amazing gem that it is. Because boy, is it ever just a proper party movie for sure, man. You know, it's that type of thing you could just throw on for new people endlessly and laugh at it, you know, and that makes it kind of, like I said, instant cult classic. You know, I think anybody that watches it and sort of clicks with it and gets it, you know, is gonna be a fan of it like in the future. You know, it's not a flash in the pan kind of a deal, because there's so many little one-liners in this. I could see going back and watching it over and over again just to see those moments of the movie. You know,
I've actually done that a few times.
But Dustin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well,
sorry that this was so short-lived, but
well,
we made a good time tonight.
Well, I
used
to be a horror collector living here in Milwaukee. I haven't gotten to do any collecting in months. So I've been dealing with a lot of really miserable personal stuff. But I'm hoping to come back pretty soon. I have a YouTube channel for showing off my collection, The Crypt of Horrors. And I also have an Instagram for the collection, also The Crypt of Horrors. So you can find me on Twitter at DurCryptaxis. Which I'm trying to hang out there again. So I don't know. I missed a lot of school, so I'm trying to make it up.
Alrighty. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. We're definitely going to have some more cool films next week with Meet the Cast with Brandon's selection. So stay tuned as we discover and watch more films. I'm looking forward to Wet Movie One's film.
Yep.
So thank you for listening. Like, share, and subscribe, and hopefully you enjoyed our film journeys here. So
just make sure that when you're dipping your fish sticks in your bourbon, you know, you're extra conservative about it. A little bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, maybe not bourbon itself, but that Jack Daniel's barbecue would be great for fish sticks.
Alrighty. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right.